For over 80 years, Joann Fabrics has been the cornerstone of America's crafting community, providing materials and inspiration for small businesses and hobbyists alike. So in this video, we're going to be diving into the rapid decline of this beloved store, as well as the profound impact that it's had on communities nationwide. For generations, Joann Fabrics has been more than just a store. It's been a haven for crafters, a cornerstone of small businesses, and a creative hub for communities across the country. Whether you are sewing your first quilt or picking out yarn for your first crochet project or a small business, Joann's was always there, stocked with everything you needed. The unthinkable is happening. Joann's is shutting down permanently, just weeks after it's announced its second Chapter 11 bankruptcy restructuring, which I talk a little bit more about in my last video about Joann's. You should definitely check that one out if you want a bit more context about what we'll be diving into in this video. The company has confirmed that every single Joann store will be closing its doors across the country. So how did this sudden collapse happen? It's been fast, messy, and devastating, not just for store customers, but also for employees, vendors, and small businesses who all rely on Joann to survive. So what went wrong? How did an American craft empire crumble so quickly? And what does this mean for small businesses? Let's dive into the shocking demise of Joann Fabrics, an American icon that crafters once trusted, and what we can do in the crafting community in order to move forward. When Joann Fabrics filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy for the second time in early 2025, they made one thing very clear. They weren't going anywhere. In fact, their restructuring plan specifically stated that no major store closures were expected, and they were working on a path forward with their lenders to keep the business running as usual. But sadly, this reassurance didn't last long. That announcement escalated into something even more shocking. Joann's was planning to shut down all of its stores permanently. For longtime customers, this felt like a total blindside. How did we go from business as usual to a full liquidation? The truth is, Joann's financial troubles ran much deeper than they let on. Their debts were sinking the entire company, and when their restructuring deal failed to secure the money they needed to keep their doors open, the only option left was to liquidate everything. The closure announcements will leave thousands of employees without jobs, customers scrambling for alternatives, and small businesses questioning where they'll now source their supplies. And this abrupt shutdown is only the beginning of the chaos. To understand how Joann went from crafting empire to filing bankruptcy, we have to rewind a bit. Joann's financial troubles didn't start overnight, and I do discuss this a bit more in my previous video, but let's talk about it briefly here. Back in 2011, Joann was bought out by private equity firm Leonard Green & Partners for a staggering $1.6 billion. Under private equity ownership, Joann struggled to balance its growing debt with its need to stay competitive. While crafting saw a surge during the pandemic, Joann didn't invest in long-term sustainability, and when inflation hit and consumer spending tightened, things spiraled fast. By 2023, Joann was drowning in debt. Store sales were down, vendor relationships were strained, and the company was facing an uphill battle. So in March of 2024, Joann filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection amid a reorganizing of finances. At the time, Joann said in a press release that it had secured approximately $132 million in new financing and related financial accommodations and expects to reduce funded debt on its balance sheet by approximately $505 million. The company, which at one point was the largest fabric retailer in the US, added that it expected to emerge from the bankruptcy process as early as April 2024. And it did. So at first, things did seem promising. There is no other retailer with the same ability to serve sewists, quilters, crocheters, crafters, and other creative enthusiasts as we have for the past 80 years. And we take great pride in seeing the passion and engagement of our millions of customers and our team members. Chris DiTullio, co-lead of the interim office of the CEO, said at the time. However, fast forward to less than a year later, Joann filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection for the second time. At first, They claimed that this was just a financial reset. Stores would stay open, employees would keep their jobs, and customers wouldn't be affected. It would be similar to the last bankruptcy they promised, but as we've all seen, this promise has been broken. On February 26, 2025, retail liquidator GA Group, in partnership with Joann's term lenders, emerged as the winning bidder. This acquisition resulted in the decision to liquidate the company's assets and close all remaining stores. The decision to shutter all locations marks the end of Joann's 80-year presence in the fabric and craft retail industry. The closures are attributed to declining consumer demand and inventory challenges, which have plagued the company in recent years. Going out of business sales have commenced at all store locations, with the company's website and mobile app remaining operational during the wind-down period. I listened to the publicly available court hearing on Joann's bankruptcy proceedings so that you don't have to, but if you're curious, you can check it out for yourself. Most of it is pretty standard, dry legal proceedings, but one part stood out to me. At the January 16th court hearing, the first hearing of Joann's second bankruptcy proceedings, this was well before the bidding process even began and when Joann started auctioning off its assets. During this hearing, a partner from Kirkland & Ellis LLP, the law firm representing Joann in this bankruptcy filing, gave a general explanation of why the company was entering into a second bankruptcy so soon after the first. She also stated that they expected no trouble securing a going concern bid during the process. And by the way, I'm not a lawyer, this is not legal advice, and I'm not a financial advisor. I'm an artist and a small business owner, so everything I say is from that perspective. So when she refers to a going concern bid in the context of this hearing, she means a buyer that intends to buy Joann and keep it open and operating as normal. So this partner at Kirkland & Ellis is saying that they shouldn't have any problem finding a buyer that wants to keep Joann open. She said that back when the first bankruptcy filing happened, production levels naturally dropped, but then when they emerged from that bankruptcy filing a month later, production levels went back to usual. However, products didn't really return back to normal and hitting those shelves again like usual until November, which meant that sales didn't go back to usual until December and January. This meant that they missed out on sales as usual from about April until November. So this all caused a domino effect that led to the second bankruptcy filing. All right, now let's take a deeper look into what happened with the vendors. Joann's financial struggles didn't just hurt customers and employees, it also hurt the very vendors that keep their shelves stocked. Many of Joann's suppliers, from fabric distributors to yarn manufacturers, rely on Joann's large orders to keep their businesses running. Many smaller suppliers were hit especially hard in thousands of dollars of unpaid invoices that they'll likely never see a dime of. As I touched on in the previous Joann video, according to Jill Soltau, Joann's CEO from February 2015 to October 2018, she said that 2/3 of Joann's products are from Chinese manufacturers, but many of their products are also from vendors based in the USA, which means that they're also getting the short end of the stick. According to the spreadsheet, which was created by Grace from the Craft Industry Alliance, we can see that the top 10 creditors for both bankruptcy filings are listed here, and this data is pulled from the official bankruptcy documents on the Kroll website. As we can see, in 2025, 6 of the top 10 creditors are actually in the United States. The top creditor is Low Tech Toy Club LLC, which is Woobles, the company that sells those cute little crochet kits, and it's based out of North Carolina. Joann owes them $7.4 million, which is insane. And with their previous bankruptcy filing in 2024, only one of the companies is not US based. The rest of the companies are all based in the States. The top creditor here in 2024 is Spinrite Corp, which is the parent company of so many yarn brands that we all love, and Joann owed them $12.2 million. The second top creditor here is Lion Brand Yarn Co., another brand that we all know and love, and Joann owes them $7.4 million USD, which is wild. So Joann's financial problems impacted independent vendors, major manufacturers, and many US-based businesses as well. And as we discussed earlier, many vendors ceased doing business with Joann after the first bankruptcy filing, and we can definitely see why here. So this vendor fallout has made things so much worse for Joann. Stores that were already struggling with low foot traffic suddenly had empty shelves, frustrated customers, and even fewer sales. And when customers can't find what they need, they're forced to shop more online or go elsewhere, driving even more business away from Joann. So while Joann's leadership tried to frame this as an unavoidable financial setback, the reality is that they lost the trust of their suppliers long before they ever announced the second bankruptcy. And of course, without those relationships, Joann just simply couldn't survive. But not only was Joann burning bridges with vendors, but with their landlords too. Joann's recent bankruptcy filing has sent ripples through the retail real estate sector, leaving landlords in a precarious position. With the company's plans to close numerous stores nationwide, property owners are now grappling with the challenges of vacant spaces and the financial implications that follow. In March 2024, when Joann Inc. filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection the first time, the company presented a pre-packaged bankruptcy plan aiming to keep existing retail locations operational and assure landlords of continued lease payments. Joann's chief financial officer stated that upon plan confirmation, all stores would remain open and all amounts owed to landlords would be paid in full. However, the retail landscape is fraught with uncertainties. Despite initial assurances, as reports began to come out that indicated Joann may proceed with store closures, this particularly affected landlords. Such closures could leave landlords seeking new tenants in a challenging market. And let's unpack how complicated this would be at the time, as Joann had over 800 locations nationwide, and so each landlord would need to proactively review each lease for each tenant, especially co-tenancy clauses, which might be triggered by anchor tenant closures. And an anchor tenant is a larger store that helps attract customers to that shopping mall to help out the smaller stores. And this situation with Joann made me think about the broader challenges that landlords face when a major retailer like Joann is in financial distress. Kevin Thompson, a finance expert and the founder and CEO of 9i Capital Group, told Newsweek the pandemic was the first blow. Falling revenue and rising debt put Joann in a tough spot. When you hear the word leverage, just know that it's synonymous with increased risk. When a company is acquired using borrowed money and interest rates start rising, debt becomes harder to service. Alex Bean, a financial literacy instructor for the University of Tennessee at Martin, told Newsweek, when it comes to the several store chains that are currently planning to or have filed for bankruptcy, the paths that are taken will largely depend on how each entity plans to handle struggling stores and future performance. In the case of Joann's, a new ownership group has decided, based on the data available, that they would be best to just go ahead and close the remaining outlets. I know that a beloved location in my hometown had been there for over 30 years. When overnight it was shut down, this prompted me to look a bit further into what are Joann's rental payments and monthly expenses, and I was definitely shocked. Joann pays rent on all 865 locations. They pay rent on all 865 stores across 49 states. So that's a lot of overhead that has to be paid in order to make stores profitable. The highest monthly rent is the Riverfront Plaza store in Chicago, Illinois, for $105,880 a month. And the oldest one here was the Stephen Corner store in Falls Church, Virginia, and it has been there since 1960. In summary, Joann's closure has a massive ripple effect that impacts both landlords and shopping centers that have had Joann's there for generations. The closure of Joann Fabrics marks a significant upheaval in the retail sector, leading to substantial job losses across the United States. As the company shutters all 865 of its stores following its second Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing within a year, approximately 19,000 employees are set to lose their jobs. These widespread layoffs not only reflect the livelihoods of Joann employees, but also pose challenges to local economies and communities that have relied on the retailer for decades.
Things Joann's employees hate hearing right now with the whole liquidation scenario and a whole thing about stores closing. One, where are you gonna go after this? Why are you asking us that? We don't know, you don't know, why are you asking us this? We might have our own plans, you might have your own plans, we're not. Cool. No. Other one, how does it feel to lose your job? That's one of the reasons my location, turn off the phones. You unplug the phones? No. We've had that conversation multiple times on the phone. Not happening. Third one, coupons don't work. If you're deciding to scream at us because of 20% off won't work, or the 5 off of 10 won't work, or the 5 off of 35 won't work, the 10 off of 15, whatever. If none of those work, there's a reason they don't work. Going out of business sale. Going out of business sale. That's final. That's it. Again, don't be rude to us. We're trying. We're also losing our jobs. Can y'all stop?
The loss of jobs extends beyond retail positions, impacting supply chains, distribution centers, and services connected to Joann's operations. As Joann initiates going out of business sales and prepares to wind down operations, the company has announced that gift cards will be accepted until February 28, 2025. However, reports have surfaced of customers encountering difficulties redeeming gift cards at certain locations, leading to frustration and dissatisfaction among loyal patrons. It's really unfortunate that many have purchased Joann's gift cards for family and loved ones, especially over the holidays, only to turn around and not be able to use them or having to use them before the February 28th deadline. The resulting job losses underscore the broader challenges facing the retail industry in a rapidly evolving economic landscape. Small business owners and independent crafters rely heavily on Joann for affordable crafting options. This means that many are going to have to seek other alternatives that may not have the same convenience or pricing.
Michael Clark likes to crochet and make clothing. She runs a small business called Max Cool Crafts because this is what she loves. But now, with her largest supplier of material clothing, she's worried other retailers won't live up to what Joann's has to offer.
They have great quality of stuff and it's affordable, but now I have to go shop somewhere else and it might not be as affordable or it might not be in stock or whatever I'm looking for.
The fabric store first filed for bankruptcy in March 2024 and again this January. They originally planned on closing 500 locations nationwide.
And then the news broke, was like, no, there are no stores. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go buy stuff before they run out.
Because she's worried other stores won't be as cost effective. And she's not alone. Jodine Gall is a craft vendor and says the prices at Joann's competitors just aren't the same.
I can't raise my prices that much because the economy is affecting everybody. So if I'm raising my prices too much, I know my products are not gonna sell.
So if I have to up my prices, then people aren't gonna wanna buy from me, and then I won't get to do what I love.
Many people are feeling squeezed right now between inflation and the cost of goods going up, and as a result, many artists and creators and small businesses might not be able to keep continuing to create the same products anymore. And with Joann's closing, this might also impact the cost of their materials as well as their bottom line.
Our customers, they mention it and they feel sad. Joann is going to be closing down.
Lena is a seamstress and owner of Perfect Stitch in Bloomfield Hills. She tells me she and her clients sourced a lot of their fabrics for custom designs from Joann's.
So look how amazing is the material, and it's not only with this material we use from them. We use too many other styles and colors.
It was just 2 weeks ago the popular fabrics and craft retailer announced its plan to close 500 stores across the country, 33 of them in Michigan. But now the company announcing every store is closing as they're going out of business. One of the reasons Lena and so many others liked Joann fabrics is affordability.
Joann, they have these amazing materials we always use when we run we need something for a project very fast. So we run to Joann right away. We help our customer with last minute projects.
Yeah, it's more budget friendly.
And the ability to feel the fabrics.
In the picture, you cannot imagine how it's gonna you receive it. Sometimes it's a good quality, sometimes it's not good quality.
As a fiber artist, it's really important to be able to feel and see the materials in person before working with them, especially if you're new to the craft. I know that when I was just beginning to learn how to crochet, Joann was really helpful because it was right there, it was affordable, and it was accessible, and I could just go there and I could actually see all the different yarns and just learn a bit more about all of the different fibers. Shopping online really just isn't the same, especially when you're just learning a new craft. This has caused so many to start panic buying and sharing their hauls online, which I completely understand, especially if you use one of the brands that are specific to Joann, because it's very likely that they'll be discontinued after they close for good. Brands like Fabony, which is its new Sewing Notions brand that they launched last year, as well as Happy Value, which offers crafting paint and yarn supplies at low prices. Another beloved brand of yarn owned by Joann is Big Twist, a favorite of so many. So it's definitely understandable why many are panic buying right now. I don't personally plan on doing this, and I definitely don't encourage anyone to do this, especially if it's not in your budget right now. I did head to my Joann just to see what the deals were like right now. Even though the store closure sale was supposed to start happening in mid-February, I just couldn't really tell. All of the yarn was only 25% off, which if you did the math, it wasn't much more off what you could usually get online or with the coupons that they had before the store closing sales. So I thought that was interesting. I also did notice that the Woobles kits were 25% off, which they're never on sale typically. So that would be a good deal for some. I did grab a couple of skeins of yarn that I thought looked cool, one of which I reviewed recently. I did notice that the receipt and all of the signs in the shop had the foreboding all sales are final notice, which made all of this really sink in. As the industry adapts to this change, the resilience and innovation of the crafting community will be crucial in navigating the challenges ahead. There's no doubt that Joann's closure is leaving a huge hole in the crafting community, and for many of us, it's the end of an era. But if there's one thing that I know about us crafters, it's that we're resourceful, creative, and resilient. While this chapter might officially be closed, a new one has already begun. For example, this shop owner in a local mom and pop fabric shop in upstate New York has said that her shop has been booming since Joann's closure has been announced.
Ever since Joann's Fabric announced closures, Marie's Sewing Center has noticed more people coming in.
A few more people have been coming in, a little bit of sadness. They were another option that people could run into. And now it's, okay, where do we go from here? Of where do we go to find sewing machine parts and thread and fabrics?
Joann's is a go-to spot for fabric and crafting supplies. It's closing multiple stores across the country, including some right here in Western New York. While some worry about fewer options for supplies, Beth says it's a way to connect with the new wave of customers. And for many, shopping in person makes all the difference.
People want to be able to feel it and see the colors, because the computer monitor, you cannot touch the fabric, and your computer won't look quite the same sometimes as in person. We are asking customers, what they are looking for, of what would they go to Joann's to get that they don't want to necessarily go to Amazon for.
In the last few years, we've seen an exciting shift toward independent craft supply stores, thrift shops carrying fabric and yarn, and creative reuse centers where people can donate and find materials at a fraction of the cost. While it will take time to fill the void left by Joann's, these small businesses and initiatives have the potential to become the new go-to spaces for our community. As I was researching for this video, I found a reuse shop not too far from me that operates on a pay-what-you-can basis. Can you imagine how game-changing this is for crafters and artists on a budget? And I truly believe that we're going to see more of these initiatives and businesses pop up as makers and entrepreneurs step up to fill the gaps. The crafting community has always been built on sharing, innovation, and creativity, whether it's supporting small businesses, upcycling materials, or finding new ways to connect, we will make a way. And to be honest, I'm really excited to see what comes next. So definitely make sure that you stay tuned. In a video really soon, I will be sharing some more affordable yarn options. And so make sure that you subscribe and click that bell if you want to be notified. I will be sharing some more options, especially that are affordable. And if you have any specific suggestions, please feel free to drop them in the comments below. I'm definitely looking for more shops every day to add to that list. I also want to give a special thanks to my members here who allow me to keep doing these deep dives. And if you want to support this channel, you can also go to my online shop at cactusladycreation.com or also become a member. Well, thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me in the next one.